Hi. In the previous video, I tried to explain the word cascade. Okay. Now, if you go ahead and search for the word cascade curtains, like cascading curtains, not cascade, cascading curtains, you can get results like this. You know, you see that there's one curtain and over that there is another. So there's the first curtain with a certain style and there's another one with a new style or a new design. So whatever is on the top is seen. So these are kind of cascading curtains. I'm just saying that so I wanted you to understand the term cascade. Now moving ahead, what does the CSS do? And why does it work with HTML? If you look at the history behind it, you will find that you have the HTML was designed basically for layout. So if suppose you have a web page like this, then HTML will say that the header is here or this is your menu, okay, on the top, and then you have the this is called the left sidebar, or and this is called the footer, okay, and then you have the content here. So if you have anything out here, this is the layout, okay, and in that, if you have, say, in that page, if you have say this is easy, suppose a text written as like this is easy, okay, and if you put it into an h1 tag, I'm just trying to write an h1 tag here, okay, let me erase this off. If I write this is easy and I want it to be shown in a particular font, for example, I want it to be shown in font h1, so I'll mark it as h1 and I will close it here, right? Now if I'm telling this to the browser presents it in its default size of h1. Now you know that h1 is the biggest header, but if can you change the default behavior? H1 is like, if this is h1, then slightly smaller than that is h2, right? This is h2. What if I want to change it? Can I style it? Can I give it a different color? Can I have a background color for a particular this? So all these effects happens with CSS. That's why we are focusing on CSS. So now let's go ahead and find out a little more about CSS. In CSS, you can have styles that are inheritable. The word inheritable means, like, if you have a parent element that has a particular style, everything else that comes inside it will have the same style, okay? Now, how does CSS work? Okay, what CSS does is it allows you to make your own HTML rules. So the rules for the HTML element, you can make h1, which I was talking about, the h1 in. Now you can say that h1 is actually big, okay? You can say this, you can say h1 is big. This is jumbo. You can say this is how your HTML h1 you can redefine instead of what we had earlier. See, this is what we had earlier, little smaller. Now you want to make it bigger. So you can specify using CSS that, okay, the font size, for example, the font size is say 20 pixel, or you can also say 40 pixel to make it bigger. Now to do that, you'll have to tell specifically whose font size you want the h1's font size to be increased, right? So to do that, you'll have to select the element. So you have to identify what are you targeting, okay, and then specify the rule for it. So remember these two terms, selector and declaration. So what is a selector? Selectors are the ones, the elements that you pick up for rules to apply, okay? And remember, selectors are case sensitive. The names of the selectors are case sensitive. You can create your own selectors, okay? And some advanced selectors allow you to select based on the attributes and values, which we will see later. So let's go ahead and see how a simple rule would look like. Here I have an element which is a p tag. So I just pick a p tag and this is the selector here, okay? The selector here is the p tag. And the rules are kept inside these braces. So what is the rule? The rule one, this is called property. Okay, this is the property that of this rule is, which is applying to the selector P, is that you have a key and you have a value. So the property is that the color will be something gray. Okay, and there's a padding. For the P tag, we want a padding of 22 pixel. Okay, there are other attributes of a rule. You can use color, you can use font, you can use width, height, border, a lot of stuffs. So remember, if you want to target a particular element like P and specify how the rules would apply, you can use this model. Now, we will discuss in the next video how does a CSS looks at an HTML element. That means what is the perspective that you should have when you're working on CSS with HTML elements, right? So we'll look at this box model around. We'll see that in the next video.